Yo, what's up everybody? It's me, That One Weeb here, back with a brand new What If, actually. A brand new ReZero What If. If you guys have not seen my What If Naruto was in ReZero, this will be my second ReZero What If, but my first What If about Subaru instead of someone else in his story. And today's video, if you can guess by the title, I know, shocking, is What If Subaru was Sukuna's vessel from JuJutsu Kaisen. Now you guys might be wondering, Weeb, how is Subaru Sukuna's from JuJutsu Kaisen's vessel? And I'm going to get into that, as well as how cursed energy, magic, the divine protections, and everything in ReZero and relating to this What If, starting here in part 1, and then we'll be getting to the actual story and see how it goes. I'll see you guys after the intro. So, as with most part 1s, this part will be establishing some of the rules as well as the differences that this What If will actually change, as well as how those changes will occur, making the story make more sense and fluid, as well as the changes that we'll be getting to see in the story, and we'll actually be getting into the start of the What If itself. So I'll be starting off with the big question on everybody's mind, which is, how does Subaru actually get Sukuna's fingers, since that's the way that someone can devour the finger and then their soul can actually link with Sukuna, allowing him to become them to become Sukuna's vessel and take over their body. Anyhow, I'll be getting into that now, and then we'll also be getting into the first arc of ReZero and the differences, as well as certain abilities Subaru will have, as well as other things like that, how cursed energy is going to work and everything. And yeah, let's just hop right into it. As we know from ReZero, Subaru as a child was very competitive, correct? And as we know, he was always trying to one-up to go above his father, who everyone had compared him to for pretty much his entire life as a kid. Now, Subaru, when he was younger, was a track racer, and he was actually very physically strong, and he was pretty popular too. And he was always compared to his dad for being so good at something, or just like your father, and Subaru hated it. Subaru wanted to be his own person. And this is actually one of the driving forces in the actual ReZero Season 2 that we see in the first half, as well as how Subaru's parents affect his life. And affected this resentment that Subaru has for his father and his capabilities, as well as just him being overshadowed by him, would cause Subaru to become more of a daredevil, just like he was in the original. And it is this specific trait of Subaru as a younger child, as well as growing up into an adult, that will allow our story to actually happen to begin with. So let's get into it. Subaru would be around 8 or 9 years old when he loses his first ever race. Subaru at this point would have his world shattered. Subaru before the race would have actually made a bet with his friends, saying that they can give him one order if he loses and vice versa if he wins, which only one friend had actually taken since Subaru had never lost before. Subaru would be shocked and hurt. He would have no idea what's happening since he was the main character, right? He should have won easily. Subaru has this complex that he has where he thinks he has to be the best at everything, or is the best at everything, until it's proven to him that he's not. And that's the case today. Subaru's mom and dad would console Subaru, saying he did a really good job. 2nd place? That's impressive, especially against a kid who's almost a year older than you. Good job, Netsuki, his dad would say as he pats him on the head. Subaru would just look down as he has no idea what to do, as after the event would be over, he'd go and meet up with his friends, who would be kind of shocked as they were laughing at him. Subaru's emotions and mental state would be racked by these thoughts, and as his friends were laughing at him, he could hear it echoing in his ears as he would tell them to stop. He's gonna win the next one for sure, as he tightens his fist. This would be when Subaru's friends would begin whispering with the one who made the bet, deciding on what they were going to make Subaru do, as they would then all run off to go back to their houses. As one of them be on the way, instead of getting what they would have normally thought of getting, which would have been some chewed up bubblegum they had left back in their room, however, something's different this time. As the friend's running, he would begin to feel a sinister, creepy almost like aura around him, as his hair would all stand on edge as he stops still. As he looks deeper into the forest, he would find an old wooden shrine from the Edo period Japan. As he walks forward, he would see within the shrine a box. He'd grab the box thinking that he'll make Subaru eat whatever's inside of this, as they'd all decided they were going to make Subaru eat some weird, disgusting stuff as punishment for his loss. Subaru would be waiting on the ground looking down as he's still thinking about what happened as he's beginning to realize his thoughts are beginning to set in. As the group would approach Subaru as all three of the friends come back, they would each have something in their hand. The first would have a dead snakeskin from their pet anaconda they had at home. Subaru would be disgusted already. The second kid would have some mud from the bottom of his shoes since he couldn't find anything in his house with his mom being a clean freak. And then the third would have a strange looking box. "What's in that one?" Subaru says. "It feels weird." The friends would all put it down and tell Subaru that he lost the bet, so that he has to eat these. Subaru would cough as he says fine, saying he wants to do the snakeskin last. As he begin to eat the dirt mud off of one of the friend's shoes, the three would then laugh at Subaru as he's looking down at the ground, completely humiliated as he's pissed off for losing. Subaru would then open the box next, and as he does so, everyone would be shocked, as a burst of negative energy would cause all of them to fall backwards, when suddenly we begin to see the trees move. From the three friends' perspectives, there'd be nothing, but then we would see Subaru start to scream as he points up, shocked. What? Look! Suddenly, before Subaru can say anything, a cursed spirit would rip off the head of one of his friends as his body would be dragged away. The other two would scream as they're shocked, not even able to see what happened. Subaru would be so confused, what's going on, as more spirits begin to surround them. As Subaru grabs the thing inside the box, you'd see it's wrapped with some sort of weird seal. As Subaru would begin to pull off this paper as it has some weird writing on it. He would then find an incredibly disgusting looking old finger. As the friends would tell Subaru asking what's happening, as Subaru would think that these spirits are after this thing. You can't have it! Subaru would say this as the friend who had actually brought the finger to him had been the one who was killed. Subaru would think about this as his entire body would be shaking. As a child, this was horrifying. And Subaru would stick to one thing, the key aspect of his character, his pride, as Subaru would then gulp down Sukuna's finger. Suddenly, he would grab his belly. As Subaru would fall to the ground, his other two friends would run away, leaving Subaru behind, saying sorry as they scream and ran. As Subaru begins rolling on the ground back and forth, he'd feel like his entire body was on fire, as it's like there were thousands of snakes inside his body, biting into him as he screamed. All he could see in his mind was his dad, always in front of him, the shadow behind him. Subaru wouldn't know it, but what would save him would be his physically strong body that he inherited from his dad, along with that shattering loss he had suffered earlier. Subaru's entire life had been changed in that mere moment. The first time he had ever lost would have actually been what crippled his confidence, and would also cause some self-deprecation and feelings of self-hate. Subaru would just be looking around at these monsters, and as finally the red energy around him begins to fade away, suddenly black markings begin to cover Subaru's skin, as Sukuna begin to take over for a mere moment of Subaru's body, as he realizes that he's now entered a vessel. As Sukuna would easily be able to push Subaru's will at this point out of fear out of the way, he would now look around as he tightens his fist, realizing that his body is not matured enough yet. Garbage, he'd say. Well, this body's pretty strong. If I can work him up, then I can get the rest of my power back together and finally have a new body, Sukuna would say as he laughs. And another thing too, he'd be looking around as Sukuna would realize that there's no Jutsu sorcerers here, so this must be a finger that they didn't own. Sukuna would laugh as the cursed spirits in the wilderness begin to jump at Subaru's young body. Sukuna's eyes would turn red for a mere instant as he flashes his hand, Subaru's nails extending and turning black, as he slashes, cutting the cursed spirits and killing them instantly. Sukuna would then suddenly be surprised as Subaru had regained his consciousness as he begins pushing Sukuna back. This kid is unlike Itadori Yuji. Natsuki Subaru would be a completely different person, and as we know from the actual ReZero light novel, his powers would eventually be that of sins. As Subaru's pure will of pride, his pride not being taken over by some dumb old man like Sukuna, he's not going to die from these curses, weird monster things, and he receives a memory of his friend dying, the one who had brought this to him to begin with. He's going to live, and he's going to win that race next time. Subaru would use all of his willpower as he then pushes Sukuna back, locking him away as Subaru would then take over his body. Subaru would fall to the ground unconscious. Subaru's parents would both eventually come around looking for him as it's been way too long, as they would have heard some kids screaming running out of the woods. Fearing for Subaru and their child's life, they would have gone looking immediately, and Subaru's dad would have found him laying on the ground. Now, here I'm going to add some narrative from the narrator's perspective, my perspective, on what's going to happen next. And you guys might be wondering, what is going on with this world? Is the ReZero world the same Earth as Jujutsu Kaisen's Earth? And if so, does that mean that Satoru Gojo is there? And also, why wasn't there a Jujutsu sorcerer on the scene if something like Sukuna's finger was there? And I'm going to explain that now. For one, Satoru Gojo at this point in time, this is before the events of Jujutsu Kaisen 0 take place. This is when Subaru would actually eat Sukuna's finger, becoming the actual first vessel, which means that this is quite a few years before Itadori Yuji would be in high school. Now, we know that at the start of ReZero, Natsuki Subaru is almost 18 years old, and Itadori Yuji is just basically like a freshman and sophomore in high school. So there's a big age disparity between the two, and I'm going to explain now what's going on with Jujutsu sorcerers and why they aren't hunting Subaru down. First of all, Sukuna would have gone dormant inside of Subaru's body, waiting for him to age so that way Sukuna could take him over slowly and also find the rest of his fingers, but as a small child, there was nothing he could do at this point. He also didn't want any Jujutsu sorcerers to find him or Subaru, because if he died at this point, then there wasn't even a chance. This is a 1 in a million chance, in fact, of anyone being able to actually synchronize with him this well. And so this would be the best opportunity he had. This meaning that he didn't want to waste it, and so Sukuna would not try to use cursed energy for a long time. Subaru would actually have forgotten about the incident, but something different now is that Subaru could see cursed spirits from this point on in our world. And in fact, this would be something that changes Subaru's character in our world, in Earth I should say, much more than you would think. The version of this Subaru, instead of quitting school and becoming a shut-in because he was physically weaker, because in fact, it's the opposite. After so many years of having Sukuna's single finger in his body, this version of Subaru would have inherited all of the power as well as techniques from Sukuna's finger that he had ingested, meaning that Subaru's physical strength would have gone up beyond normal human levels. So he didn't have a problem winning in his school anymore, but after that one loss, that was enough for him. And after he could see these cursed spirits, and after he eventually remembered that night that what happened to his friend and before he blacked out, Subaru would be different. He would feel like he didn't fit in society anymore, and he would stop going to school because when he had first gone back to school for the first time, the amount of negative emotions there and cursed spirits made him want to throw up. And just sitting in there would make him sick, as he would see these monsters slithering all over these people and they couldn't even see them. Subaru would sound insane, especially when he was younger, and eventually he would just learn to shut up, as he'd gone to several social workers and psychologists with his parents, and they were very worried about Subaru. From here to get into the actual story, we're going to be having a very small time skip. And by small, I mean like 8 years, because Subaru is now almost 18 years old, he is 17, and he decided that he's hungry this night. It would be the last that Subaru would see of potato chips and magazines, as he heads towards a very certain gas station or small store as you would in the original. As Subaru is walking in, suddenly inside of Subaru, Sukuna would awaken. What? He wasn't supposed to wake up until Subaru had turned 18, which would have been when he was an adult, allowing him to leave his parents and go and take over Subaru's body to find the rest of his fingers before any Jutsu sorcerers could hunt him down. But something was different. Something had entered his space. "Nothing's allowed to touch my soul," he would say, as Sukuna would look up. This version of Sukuna, instead of having the pink hair and the changed version of Itadori Yuji, would be Subaru's edition, as his red eyes would then match with someone else's. Someone else was inside Subaru's soul. As Subaru enters the store, not feeling different or anything, something would be happening within Subaru. While Subaru would have no idea what's going on inside of him, he would just be walking around the store looking for a snack and a magazine, as he's just reading a manga that had just come in actually that day. He would look out the window and see his eyes all baggy as he looks at them. They appear sunken in as if though he hadn't slept all night, which he hadn't, to be fair, since he was up playing games all night. Subaru, after finding what he wanted, would head towards the store clerk as he looks at his phone, looking at the time, as he would then give them his money to the store clerk before he begins walking out of the store. This would be when we see what was going on inside of Subaru's body. We can see Sukuna inside of Subaru's soul, inside of his body, fighting this dark entity, as multiple thousands of black hands come charging towards Sukuna. "I don't have enough power with just one finger," he'd be thinking. "I don't know if I can." Suddenly a black hand would pound into his chest. "Ugh, get out of here, you bitch," he would say. As long as Sukuna's eyes looking up towards her, we would see there standing Satella, the Witch of Envy, as she has come for her prey, her one that she loves. As Subaru closes his eyes, Sukuna would suddenly feel a pull, as if he'd be pissed off, saying he's going to kill her. Once he gets all of his power, he's going to kill her. Satella would give a kiss to Subaru's cheek, as suddenly the world would begin to fade as he closed his eyes. 1, 2, 3. Elsewhere, miles away from where Subaru was, we see a battle, a very familiar battle taking place actually, as we see Itadori Yuji along with Megumi fighting a cursed spirit at a high school. As the finger comes falling down from the sky, one of Sukuna's fingers, Itadori would open his mouth ready to bite it, as Gojo would be on his way to arrive. Just as the finger's about to slip down Itadori's throat, as it enters his mouth, suddenly it would disappear as Itadori chomps down at air. Huh? Itadori would say, as he would then use his physical strength, punching himself his way out of the actual monster itself, as Megumi would be confused too, with the two wondering what happened to the finger, as they look around desperately for it. What they wouldn't know is that all signatures of Sukuna's fingers would disappear. And you might be wondering, why is this? Because Satella, what she didn't know, is when she summoned Subaru and Sukuna's soul to the other world back to ReZero's world, she didn't account for the fact that Sukuna's fingers, the other pieces of his soul, would get pulled with him. So all 20 fingers from Earth, from ReZero's Earth, from where Subaru came from, would get pulled into the ReZero world, along with Subaru and Sukuna. And as Subaru would open his eyes, he began to hear a voice. Damn it, she got away. Huh? This is that. Subaru remember, as he remembers but just before he blacked out, this very strange but old man's voice, and before he had killed those monsters. Subaru would turn around looking everywhere for him as he wonders, where are you? What happened? Before he would suddenly feel something on his face. Subaru would look down to the left side of his cheek as he sees a mouth and an eye open, saying, I'm gonna kill that bitch when I find her again. Alright, kid, give me your body. As he would begin to try and force his power over Subaru. Subaru would then be resisting back, as Sukuna would be a bit shocked, not realizing that Subaru was actually able to maintain him somehow. What? How is... He would then look back into his soul, as he would see something, a dark power, something ridiculously powerful, but he couldn't touch it. The moment he did, he would feel a sense of danger on him, as Sukuna would be a bit afraid actually of Satella's power. What he'd be looking at, of course, would be inside Subaru's soul, would be Return by Death. Return by Death would be allowing Subaru to resist Sukuna's control, as well as be able to hear inside Sukuna and inside of his own body. Sukuna would curse again, as he tells Subaru that they need to go find the rest of him if he doesn't want to die. Subaru would be shocked, asking why does his face have a face, as he'd be patting himself down before he looks around and realizes there's monster people, there's demi-humans, No! Did I get summoned to another world? As the camera would pan up just like it had in the original ReZero anime, this would be when Sukuna would suddenly pull the attention back to himself, as he says, well done, what do you think we're at, McRonald's? Subaru would sigh as he says he's sorry, and you also don't have to stop on my fun. What's your name even? Sukuna would introduce himself saying his name is Sukuna, and Subaru would say the same before Sukuna says, yeah, I already know that. I've been living with you for most of your life. I've seen everything you've seen. Subaru would look down as he matches his eyes with Sukuna, as the two have a silent argument, with Sukuna and Subaru beginning to debate about a very important topic. Are elf girls or cat girls better? As the two begin arguing, this would be when people would be finding them a nuisance, as Sukuna would tell Subaru to shut up and just get moving. Subaru would still be able to see these cursed spirits in this world, but they didn't even look as much out of place anymore since there were so many other monsters and demi-humans around here. Sukuna would tell Subaru that these spirits will probably attack him, and if he does that, he's on his own since he's not helping him. In fact, if you died, it'd be kind of funny, but I can't let that happen until I at least can take over your body. What are you talking about, Subaru would say. Aren't you my... Wait a minute. Are you like the pretty goddess girl that's going to guide me on my isekai adventure? Subaru would say in his high-toned voice as he's excited, looking down at Sukuna. Sukuna would look up at him as inside of his soul he would just not know what to say. This kid's an idiot. Yes, Subaru. I am definitely a goddess that will guide you on your isekai journey. As he begins laughing at him, actually full-on belly laughing at Subaru. Subaru would tell Sukuna to shut up. He says that they're gonna go look around this new isekai world, saying that if Sukuna isn't his now goddess buddy, surely some pretty girl's gotta be there to explain the whole situation to them. As Subaru would finally begin to look around the city of Lagunica, trying to find out where he was, what this language was, and where's the pretty girl that's supposed to guide him around in his new OP Isekai journey. Exactly like in the original, Subaru would have no idea what's going on as he keeps entering into demi-human bars and establishments and getting thrown out since he's obviously not one. Sukuna would be laughing his ass off at Subaru, telling him that he's ridiculous, coughing as he thinks this is the funniest thing he's seen on all of the years possibly that he's ever been, saying that Subaru is just a full-on clown. Subaru would slap the side of his face, but it wouldn't do anything as Sukuna would simply shift to the other side, causing Subaru to just make his own cheek red. Shut up, he'd say. As Subaru would go and sit in an alley, sad and depressed, as he's holding his bag of groceries, he decided that he might want to munch on some potato chips. As he looks down at his phone, seeing no signal. Damn, he'd be thinking. Subaru would be bored out of his mind when suddenly 3 thugs begin to enter into the alleyway. These 3 thugs are the ones, yes, from the original, as one of them would have a knife. Give us all your money and all valuables you might have on you. Sukuna would be laughing, telling Subaru to do his best, gambattare, gambattare. And Subaru would obviously be ready and excited as he thinks, my first low-level thugs. I'll take care of you easily, he'd say. As Subaru would begin to charge some power into his fists as he decides to focus and concentrate. Hey, are you mocking us? The big guy would say as he moves forward, ready to hit Subaru. Subaru would actually charge cursed energy into his fist. And as he throws the punch, hitting the big guy, he'd go flying into the other side of the street as he gets sent back and actually falls to the ground, not knowing what even happened. The other 2 would get scared and run, as they say this kid's some kind of freak, as they didn't even sense any magic or see any magic or spirit arts from him at all. Subaru would look down his fist saying he's awesome, and he must have some super strong magic powers. Inside of Subaru, Sukuna would be kind of ticked off, as he realized that not only has he synchronized with Subaru, but Subaru has synchronized with him, meaning that Subaru is able to use cursed energy, and this might not be as fun to watch as he thought. That's annoying, Sukuna would be thinking. Doesn't matter. As long as I can get the rest of my fingers and then be able to take over his body, that's all that matters to me. And in this new world, there's probably tons of other curses that I can subjugate under myself, the king of curses, Sukuna. Suddenly from around the alley, we would see a girl with white hair and ears that are long, elongated, and an elf girl. Subaru would be shocked, thinking, this is it! This is finally time! She's finally found me! It's time to start my OP Isekai event! And this would be when Amelia would then say, you! Did you steal my insignia? Subaru would fall backwards before he realizes that this is probably a girl who's busy and not here for him. Subaru would ask what this insignia thing looks like as Amelia would describe it, saying and showing the size of it as well as explaining its color and just describing how it looks. Subaru would say he hadn't seen one, but there were 3 thugs who had tried to mug him earlier. They might know about it. Amelia would then find the 3, she would then drag them back, asking if they'd seen anyone who has something like her insignia. The 3 would then think about it as they would have seen a small little girl. This being felt, have actually ran through the area before Subaru had been there when they had been camping out to find any idiots. The 3 would tell Amelia out of fear as Puck would appear telling them to do so, saying not to pick on his daughter. The 3 would run in fear away from Puck, the spirit user Amelia, as Subaru would say that's amazing, asking, is that a cat? Puck would introduce himself, but as he looks down at Subaru, he would jump, as inside of Subaru, there would be a dark energy, something powerful and strong. This would be the strongest cursed spirit that Puck would have ever seen, with him being a great spirit. Puck would actually fall under a positive type of energy, since the spirits in Re:Zero are kind of similar in a weird way to JuJutsu Kaisen spirits. Subaru would then agree to help Amelia track down this girl, saying that he and Sukuna will help Puck and Amelia try and actually hunt down this girl and get her insignia back. Sukuna would tell Subaru they don't have time for this, saying that they need to find his fingers. With Subaru telling Sukuna to shh, Sukuna would sigh as Subaru forces him to go back to sleep, saying, damn brat. As we see Subaru and Amelia begin to start their hunt to try and find Amelia's insignia. If you guys want to see the next part of What If Subaru was Sukuna's vessel, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below what you thought of part 1, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this from me in the future. Aside from this, I'm so sorry it took so long to get this video out. I have a lot of videos I'm working on right now, and just some stuff in real life's been taking up a lot of time. And I haven't had enough time to record and script for a lot of other parts. So I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this part. I might not get another video out for like a day or 2. Aside from that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you got to this far, make sure to definitely hit that like button. And I'll see you guys in part 2. Goodbye.